This is Jerry, and I want to discuss a little bit about Tetsu Te, which is the Japanese pronunciation of Tetsu. Tetsu being iron hand. Iron palm is used, but it kind of is a misnomer because most people that practice in the art or way of iron hand conditioning, and by the way, it's not a martial system, it's a way of conditioning, most do more than one surface of the palm. You can do the palm all day long. As a matter of fact, Master Lee Shiloh has a system of diamond palm for breaking. It's phenomenal. It's out of this world, and I am particularly in studying that right now because I find it to be very powerful. When the stars align and your body aligns right, is my joke, the breaks are so beautiful. It's amazing what the human body can do. But as far as Tetsu Te and Tetsu, traditionally speaking, martial arts, Chinese martial arts especially, a lot of different systems would have different ways of training the hands. Some would use paper, some would use sand, which is a sandbag. Rice can be used. Rocks. Mercy Given 100. There's really good videos on there, and he's got this gargantuan rock, and he's pounding on it and pounding on it. And that's actually a traditional way of training. The idea is to make your hands hard, you should hit something hard, and train on something hard to be able to break something hard. In that process, you're making a harder, stronger mind. So that's a very good thing. It's just training and conditioning. There's a thing called Wolf's Law before I go to anything else, so I want to describe Wolf's Law in case people haven't heard it. There's a concern that doing this kind of training can cause arthritis. Well, let me tell you this right now, first of all, before we go into Wolf's Law. You can get arthritis not doing anything. Actually, the disuse of something can increase your chances of arthritis greatly. It's been shown by several older people get arthritis and they go out and get a job or start doing something with their fingers, start manipulating and doing with their fingers, getting the blood flow there. And though they still have arthritis, the pain has decreased dramatically because they're moving and doing. There are martial masters out there that are in their 70s and 80s that have been doing iron hand conditioning for their entire lives that have no hand arthritis whatsoever. Everybody's different, but you assume a risk going into something like this anyway. I love the art of Tetsu Te. I love the art of breaking. I'm really enjoying it. But the conditioning itself is a meditation for me, and it brings me peace. Believe it or not, it brings me a great sense of calm when I train in my Tetsu Te. So, back to Wolf's Law. Wolf's Law, over in general, just to give you an overview, says that the body, every part of your body, will adjust itself based on abuse, force and weight, load, things of that nature. For example, if you look at a woman's body when she gets pregnant, a woman does not go to bed one night, wake up 9 months big as a house pregnant. It doesn't happen that way. You watch over 9 months and a woman's body changes. It adapts. The hips cradle the baby more. They tuck under. They begin spreading out a little bit wider. There becomes a rocking motion because the cartilage and ligaments that hold the baby cradle and suspend to give the baby a less jarring experience. But you look at a woman's lower body, her legs get thicker and denser. The muscle adapts to the weight-bearing load that she has to carry. Her body adapts. Part of that is Wolf's Law. The muscles are growing because of the force they have to bear. People that are typically larger to move around, their legs tend to get very thick and large. The muscle does because you put 300 pounds of weight up here, your legs have to carry the weight. And so if you're able to move as you're getting heavier, they get denser and thicker. Running, bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is a great example of how the body adjusts and changes based on the demands of weight bearing. What's happening is at a cellular level, muscle tissue and bone actually go through a process of breaking down and being rebuilt. When you put a lot of muscle weight load on a muscle, and you do that consistently, the body automatically says, okay, hey, we used to lift 20 pounds pretty regularly like this on the bicep, and now we notice there's a demand for more weight to be held and lifted. So let's add more muscle tissue. Let's bulk it up, make it thicker and larger so that we can deal with the increased load easier. So if you look at a bodybuilder, through repetitions over and over, whether it's lightweight or not, to us it's not lightweight. They're still doing massive weight. The muscles get bigger because of force put upon them. Well, here's the thing about bone. Bone changes too. If my bicep is getting that big, then the places where it connects to my bone, the area of bone is getting denser. Because you see, if my finger connects to the bone here, and the muscles get bigger because of weight, it's pulling on this one part where it attaches to the bone. Well, for that bone to be able to deal with that weight, it has to get thicker there too. That's just natural. So what you're doing with Tetsu Te, Tetsu, iron hand, whatever you want to call it, is you're repetitively causing micro tears in the bone. Okay? You're also doing damage to some tissue too. Damage is not a negative word here. Damage is necessary for the benefit of the technique. If you study karate and you're doing your standard punch and you're using the first two knuckles and you're training on a makiwara, you are doing iron hand training. The makiwara is a type of iron hand training. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. To develop iken hisatsu, which is one punch stopping power, the traditionalists use the makiwara. And in using the makiwara, hitting it over and over again, and the board bends and feeds energy back, you're teaching your body how to take the punishment of the punishment you're giving so that eventually you're used to it. You can punch all day as hard as you want to, and the other person will crumble. So these concepts are out there anyway. So let me go over the 18 Dallas Palms of way of thinking. That's Wolff's Law. Remember, Wolff, scientist, good stuff. I am encouraging the density of my bone in my hand by striking the surface over and over and over again. Now here's the key. You can cause fractures in the bone by using too much power. The key is, and you'll see this stated by Mercy Given 100 on his site often, repetition is most important. You want to be firm. You want to be firm. You want to make sure you hit the target. You want to be firm and solid, but you don't have to hit it hard over and over. People that you see hitting it harder will be people like myself maybe who have been training in this for years and our hands are conditioned more. But even I, after 12, 13 years or so of doing this, get injuries. Little mistakes, little mispositions can cause damage and in a negative way, and you have to back off a little bit. So I'm going to put my steel shot bag up here, just for sake of keeping my workout today a little firmer. I'm going to go through 18 Dallas Palms. We do the 4 bags, sand bag, rice bag, wood chip, and rock. Now, I mentioned fractures. I've actually experienced damage negatively that I don't mind. See, any training like this is a trade-off. You've got to trade off. You've got to understand that you can get hurt. You can cause some deformity in parts of your hand. This bone right here, I actually have a knot on that bone. Evidently, I created a fracture there that didn't stop me from using my hand, using my rock bag. Now, it was a risk worth taking. I didn't mind it. So doing that, though, when I do a backhand conditioning strike on a flat surface, instead of hitting flat, I actually have to rotate my hand over and pull these fingers up and strike like this. I don't know if you remember any wrestlers back in the day. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat used to come up and pa! Anyway, so that's what it reminds me of, is I'm having to strike by turning my hand over. It's still a valid backhand, but I'm having to compensate because of the damage already done. I'm okay with that. It's what I choose. So 18 Dallas Palms method, you don't have to do the rock bag. The main thing is finding something, sand, rice, cinder block, piece of wood, steel shot. I don't recommend steel shot for beginners. As I'm learning, steel shot is the bad mamma jamma of things. Steel shot can hurt you if you're not careful because it's such a tight, dense material and steel doesn't give. So in Tetsu Te training, the way I was taught, seated position, not standing up, so that your body's relaxed and you can focus and just letting your hand drop. And what I do is I kind of let my body rotate and tighten my stomach a little bit and allow it to drop as if I'm throwing a technique. For me, it simulates the movements I would be doing if I were standing up. If I stood up and hit somebody like that, I would have to rotate, turn, pull, tighten. So sitting, I lightly do it. I don't force it. I lightly do it. The idea is to keep everything relaxed so that if you're actually using the technique, you do it relaxed. Because the most powerful thing about the striking in these styles of conditioning is the more relaxed you are, the more powerful the technique. In general, I don't care what martial art, the more relaxed you are, the more powerful the technique. And the more speed you can usually generate too, because muscle isn't trying to fight to get it out there. You just go. So, striking the bag in 18 ounce palms, we do 10 surfaces. Flat, back, knife hand, palm heel, hammer, back fist, front knuckles, back fist, sun punch, and spear fingers. Now, we'll talk about the sun punch really quick. In karate, you're taught to punch with these first two knuckles, never the last three. In kung fu styles, you'll see a lot of punches that come in like this, thumb pulled back, and they use these three knuckles. There's nothing wrong with that, but the good thing about something like this is it makes you condition those knuckles so you can take a hit. Because typically in a bar fight, the guys that break their hands, they're breaking these last two bones because they go to punch, and those two bones are not naturally thick like the first two. They're not naturally designed for the weight bearing of the first two. These two are kind of connected to each other, so one without the other, you know. The first two are your stronger two fingers, so as you do and as you function, they've always been stronger and bigger. They can take more punishment. So a guy goes to punch and he comes across and he turns the wrong way and breaks those bones. This teaches you to get conditioning so that those bones are stronger. They can take impact. That's what this is all about, is teaching your body to take impact. So we've covered Wolf's Law. We've covered that. I'll show you a few techniques here. Now, the way I was taught was with the 10 strikes, but you don't have to do 10 strikes if you're doing iron hand. Now, one of the reasons I like this approach, I have bad feet. Every now and then my feet flare up, and it doesn't allow me to go work out in the yard. I'm very martial-minded. I've always loved martial arts and the culture behind it, and also just the philosophy and the peace that comes from it. So you can take somebody, in my mind, martial artists aren't always people that can fight well. Sometimes a martial artist is a scholar. It's somebody whose mind is on the path of understanding how the techniques translate into more peace and how the training can benefit them. So for me, something like this can be practiced by somebody who doesn't need to go to a dojo. You can train yourself at home. I build all my own equipment. Everything I have, I make. And for me, that's part of the journey. It's like connecting with the ancient fathers of martial arts back in the day, because they had to make their own equipment too. They didn't go to a specialty shop and say, I need a bag for my iron palm training. Didn't happen. This bag here, for example, is a gallon-sized Ziploc with about 18,000 BBs cut, taped, and then taped all around to give it the strength that I need, and I strike it. I use a particular duct tape that is designed for outdoor use. It has a maximum strength and wear, and I intend to use this for about a year or so probably, and have to change it or add. It doesn't matter. It's part of the process to me, is my connection with the ancient arts. I don't have to be actively engaged in the dojo. A lot of people can't afford it, but you can actively engage in the conditioning and enjoy that part, because with this conditioning comes the ability to break, and breaking is a test of your skill also. It's something that I avoided for years because of the thought of hurting my hands and stuff, but there are ways to do it that's safe, and honestly I was kind of chicken, won't lie. So what you can do instead of all 10 strikes is just pick a few strikes you like the most. I will suggest flat hand, because a full slap is always an effective thing. It's used in a lot of breaking. It also conditions the palm heel, so if you hit the palm heel, very devastating. You don't have to do a backhand. You don't. As in diamond palm, you can focus on just the bottom surface of the hand, the palm surface. And that's all you have to do, is repetitive over and over and over. But another thing was shared by Mercy Given 100 was the idea that it's the intention with which you hit the bag. You should have good intentions. The purpose of this isn't to destroy people. The purpose is to hit the bag to condition yourself. It's your journey. Your only enemy is you. Your only limitation is you. This journey has nothing to do with you kicking somebody's butt or going out there and showing off. All my breaks that I do are private. I do them at home on my own to see where I'm at. Just to see if this stuff is effective. And it is, and it gives me confidence to know that if I have to defend myself, I can hold my own a bit. Maybe I'm not the best fighter, but a couple of strikes I can get in there, and they'll be felt. So there's different velocities with which you hit, and let's go through that really quick. There's one method where you just lightly tap over and over. Very effective. Probably one of the truest, best ways to do it. And you just simply light tap, but your intention is true. You're hitting the target, you're focusing on your technique so that when you strike, you're effective. And the repetitious strike over and over is force from your hand to the target, but there's a negative resistant force coming back every time you hit. It's like when you walk. I'm 225 pounds. Every time I take a step with my right foot, I am forcing 225 pounds down through my heels into the ground. The ground is thicker and stronger than I am, so what it does is it feeds the same amount of pressure back up. So you have to get used to walking. It's just the way it works. Your body learns to take that jarring force in return. Same thing here. I'm creating the negative resistant force every time I hit this. What that's doing is conditioning my body, all my body, every joint, my wrist, my elbow, my shoulder, my back, every part of the powerhouse that drives a technique in martial arts is being conditioned to take as much as I'm giving. But because I'm doing it over and over and over again, I'm increasing my endurance. It's like a runner. A runner starts out doing a 5K. He's doing great. He builds up to a 5K, then he says, I want to do a 10K run. Well, he starts training to do a 10K. Well, he's got to push past a wall to get there. He's got to gradually increase his ability until he can do a 10K. Then he decides, you know what, I'm going to shoot for a marathon. Okay, great. Go for it. Go for a half marathon first. So he works up to a half marathon. Each stage, he's pushing a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, but it's repetition. He's jogging, he's doing something each day to make his body do. That's the key with anything like Tetsu Te or any other kind of iron hand training. So, I hope this overview helps people understand a little bit. Let's go through velocity again. You have the light tapping. Or you can use more force with gravity, which is what I like to do every now and then also. Bring your hand up high and let it drop. Now, this creates more force. So you have to be careful here, especially with materials like rock. If you're doing it this way, with rock, you can get a lot of damage. That's kind of how I got the hand issue. It's a different way of striking, but it's the same as this. If you look at the impact site, how I'm doing it, it's the same. Just this is a little easier to do, and you get more repetitions out of it. The time it takes me to go from here to here, and from here to here, I could probably get 2 strikes or 3 while I'm going. So, velocity, timing, it all matters. I suggest getting in a rhythm. Find what works for you. I'll do my, on the sandbag, I use the sandbag every day now. I use the sandbag and do 10 strike procedure. And then when I go to the steel shot or my black granite, I'll do 4. Flat, back, knife hand, palm heel. I want those techniques, those 4, to be the strongest. That's the purpose of my doing it. Now, maybe you like the knife hand, and you want that to be the strongest. Fine. Beat that away for a while. Be light, go easy, because remember, these bones, they can take a lot of punishment, but they can be hurt. Okay? So keep in mind caution, be careful. Remember what I said, that you don't have to be a phenomenal fit athlete to do Tetsu Te or iron hand training. For me, it's a way to connect to martial arts when I can't afford to go to the dojo, or I can't afford to keep up with you know, that kind of exercise when my body is not letting me. When I'm sick, I can still sit down and hit the bag. So I'm still able to get that benefit out of it and be part of the martial arts world. And that's always what I've always wanted. So thanks for listening to me rant and rave. Good training. Best to you. Some sites to check out would be Mercy Given 100 here on YouTube, and also Lee E. Shiloh. Great stuff there. Great examples of proficient, well knowledgeable martial artists, each in their own right, their own way, and anything we can help you with, you know. That's what it's all about, is sharing. Also, the Iron Lotus Society is a phenomenal group. I've enjoyed their stuff too. So, thank you very much.